Hello dear students. Today we will start with another subject that is in a Linux operating system. So this is one of the course offered for your third year curriculum. Before we should start with this Linux operating system, first we will see your curriculum, that is your Linux OS. So Linux OS, it is having 3 hours of theory and 2 hours of practical. So having total 5 credits. Having your 100 marks of theory examination, 20 marks for your unit test, 2 unit test, and the average will be taken as in a 20, and the theory examination of the 80 marks, so that will be total as in 100. Practical examination of 50, that will be an internal practical examination. So total marks will be 150. Now let's see its theory content. The first chapter includes Introduction to Operating System. Here we will revise the OS concept that already you have learned in your second year. Then we will start with the Linux concept, its a history, open source concept, some comparative study with the operating other OS just like a Windows or Unix OS, then some features of Linux, how to install the Linux and some installation steps. Then it is having some GUI, that is of GNOME and the KDE. So that this will be covered in your first chapter. Then we will see about the second chapter, including the Linux basic commands of setting the password, then SU for the super user commands, then some PWD commands which presents your current working directory, then CD commands that change the directory, CP, MV, head, grep, some few commands working that will work with the files. Third chapter includes again the commands with the basic utilities just like a cat command, rm command, less or more command. So again it includes some set of commands that we have to work with an OS. Fourth chapter, it focused on security of an Linux, and that can be set with the help of the SE Linux. Then section 2, it is about administration of the system. There are different commands that with that you can administrate your system OS. How to use a root account. There are some utilities when you are formatting your disk, just like a fdisk utility. You have to set some commands, and with that you can format your hard disk. You can give the size, that how much size required for installation of any OS, Linux OS specifically, and some these are some few commands related to the system. Then 6.1, it is about publishing with Linux. Now it includes the open office, just like a word processor. In Windows we are using Microsoft Word Office, the same like that open office. So how to use that open office, that we will learn in this chapter. Then some editors are available, VIM editor and Emac editor. By default is a VIM editor. We are calling it as actually VI editor and Emacs editor. Currently we are using Notepad or Notepad++ in case of Windows. Same like that with the Linux, VIM and Emacs, some few editors are available. So how to print any document with the help of some set of commands just like LPR, LPRM. It's having some set of difference between them that we will learn when we cover this point. Then how to work with the graphics using Linux. And the chapter number 7 and 8, it covers about shell. There are different types of shells. Shell is nothing but a command interpreter, and with that shell we can execute some set of commands. And when we write these commands into a single file and when we execute that file, then that will become a shell scripting. So we will write down 3 to 4 commands in a single file, that will become your script, and just we have to run that script with the help of the shell. So how to write down that script? There are some rules and regulations just like any programming language. So we will learn that how to use that different control statements, how to use variables, how to declare it, and how to write a program with the help of the shell scripting. And this is the end of your syllabus. Then in practicals, according to theory, it includes installation of an Linux OS, then different file system, Linux file system study. So first two practicals, first one it is installation, second one study practical, and from third onwards these are for the execution of the commands. Now for that we have to install, first of all we should have Linux OS on our computer. Another option is that we can use a virtual machine concept, install the VMware, and on that VMware we can install another OS. So you no need to dual boot your computer, just you can have your one OS as a Windows OS, install a software VMware, and on that VMware we are going to install Linux or any other OS, and then that particular software will be act as a base for an OS, and we can execute our commands on that particular OS. So there are different ways that we can install it. We will see it later once our practical gets started. And then third, fourth, fifth, these are the practicals about executing commands. Sixth also the same. Seventh also same, basic utilities commands we will execute. Okay, this is about fdisk utility, how to exactly format a disk with the set of the commands, not with the GUI. So these are some commands we will learn in the 8 number practical. 9 number about editor, how to use an editor. Now if we are using a simple notepad++ or notepad, that is very simple one, but this VI editor and Emac editor, we should know some set of commands, and then only we can write down any document with this editor. Then from 10th number practical onwards, we will learn about shell, different types of shell, that is a command interpreter are available. Currently we are using a bash shell with that Linux. So features of bash shell and which are the different characters, special characters are available with that bash shell. Practical number 11, 12, 13, 14, up to that we will learn about shell scripting programming, writing of the shell scripting, how to execute that shell scripting, that we will learn up to this 14 number practical. And then some recent version of the Linux, that is a practical number 16. So we have to write a report about it. So latest advancement in that Linux. And the 15 that we have to run a C program on a Linux. Now in the first year you learn about C programming language, and now in this year you will write a simple C hello program, and that program you have to run on a Linux platform. It is very easy one. Just we have to use any editor and write down that code of that printf statement, save that file, and after saving that file with the help of some command, that compilation command, compile that file, and then for the execution there is one command, and with that we can execute that file. Currently I am not telling anything about it. Once the practical gets started, I will explain everything, how to execute the C program. Even in a second chapter, I will tell you that how exactly we can run C program, we can run Java program with the help of this Linux OS. And that is very easy one. Okay, so this is about your curriculum. So today we will start with the first chapter. So first chapter, it is about Introduction to Operating System. Just I told you that in this chapter we will learn about what is an operating system and history of an Linux OS, what are the different features of Linux OS, then comparison between Linux OS and Windows OS as well as with the Unix, and some installation steps, how to exactly install Linux OS, which are the different distributions are available with the Linux OS. So that we are gonna study in this particular chapter. Now let's learn, or let's revise the definition of an OS. I think everyone know about the definition of an OS. What is an OS? An operating system is a program that acts as an interface between the user and the computer hardware, and it controls the execution of all kinds of programs. So it is just nothing but a set of program, and it is acting as an interface between user and a computer hardware. Now your computer hardware means what? Let's see this diagram. Okay, that elaborates very nicely. This is a hardware containing your CPU, RAM, input output devices. So it will form your hardware, and this is a set of software. And what is this? Before this software we need some kind of platform, or we need some kind of interface, that is nothing but your operating system. So suppose you want to interact with the hardware, user cannot directly interact with an hardware. First of all, it will interact with the software will interact with that operating system, and then operating system will be interact with the hardware, and in this way the communication will take in place. Now, which are the different types of softwares are available? There are two types of software: system software and application software. Application software, everyone of you know about it. Application software, suppose you want to play a music. Okay, so you want to play a song on a music player. What do? Just you go to your mobile, or okay, don't talk about the mobile, let's see example of laptop or computer. So what do? Just you open that music player and play that song, just click on that song. But the back end, what happens, that particular music player interacts with an operating system. Okay, that song, at least it should be saved somewhere. Now where it is saved? It is saved on your hard disk, and hard disk means it is a part of an hardware. So that music player give an instruction to an operating system to contact with their hardware. So that hardware, it will find out that particular song where it is present, and from that it will be get loaded into your memory, into your RAM. So once it is loaded into the RAM, then that song will be get played with the help of CPU processor to perform any programming or to execute any program. You require a processor for that. That is your CPU, central processing unit. Once you get that once that program gets CPU, then that will be executed and your music will be get played. So that is a simple procedure behind it. Another system software, suppose system softwares want to interact with the hardware, then for in the form of the device drivers. For example, suppose you want to open any pen drive, then you require a system softwares for that, and that is your device driver. Now this system software will interact with an operating system that I want to open, give an instruction, open that pen drive. Now that OS give that instruction to the hardware, find out where exactly it has been attached, and then from that location, that particular pen drive will be get access. I want to play a song from that pen drive, then I want to execute the program from the pen drive. Okay, so not only just accessing the pen drive, but suppose I want to perform some programmings or I want to perform some function on that particular external hard drive, then again we require the CPU for that. So for accessing anything from the hardware and we want to execute that one, we require a processor, and that will be once it allocate the processor and it is loaded into the RAM, then that program will be get executed. So in short, your operating system, it is in a middle part that user interact to the software and software interact to the OS and then OS to the hardware. That's why it is called as an interface between the software and the hardware. I think everyone you got this idea about the OS. Now we will see about role of an operating system. Now in second year, I think in every chapter that you learn about the different functions of an operating system. The one chapter it was on process handling, another one was on memory management, I think one was on file management. So every chapter tells that what are the different functions of an OS. Another main thing in operating system is that operating system it is made up of a kernel. I think you heard about it. Kernel, it is in a heart of an operating system. So it is one of the component that perform all these interactions, all these functions to interacting with the hardware, and that again get back result, and that result will be sent back to the system softwares or the device drivers. So that is the function of the kernel. So this is about an operating system. In next video, we will cover that role of an operating system. I think everyone got about an idea of that what is an operating system and what we are going to learn in this particular chapter.